Now, I think this lacks a lot of context. Now, if you take away the postseason dirty hit, which was a dirty hit, Carson Wentz has finished two of his last four seasons, in totality missing 8 games. Now, again, we come back to this injury prone title that's only relegated to Carson Wentz. When in actuality, there are a list of big name quarterbacks who have missed more games in the same amount of time, namely Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Cam Newton, who have all missed more games than Carson Wentz, but are not given this injury-prone title. So this does lack some context. However, I will say Carson Wentz does need to finish his 5th year with a playoff win and or at least healthy. So that's kind of a half truth on that one. Come on, Philly Voice. Really? Y'all bring up injury history from his college years. Okay, so X off number one, because that has nothing to do with anything. Number two, they're talking about fractured ribs in a preseason game where he only missed a few games, and then they go on to speculate that he could have missed real time had it occurred in the regular season. Well, it didn't. It didn't occur in the regular season. Stop speculating. And then, okay, and then when he tore his ACL and LCL, bro, like those injuries happen. Injuries happen. Now, mind you, he could have been a bit more responsible and not ran the ball in the end zone and getting both his knees crushed. Okay, and that's something that he has to live with on his own, and he's more than well paid for that. And then number four, they brought him back too early, because if you know about anything about ACL and LCL injuries, they take a year to recover from, and you're not the same until 6 months after that. So in actuality, they brought him back too early, which caused like the knee that he just got surgery on. He was leaning on that on that left knee, which is why he had a back injury, because he was compensating so much for that knee that he might did something with his back, which is still not an excuse for being injured. It just happens like that. Like, that's the way it happened. But he still had the best quarterback touchdown ratio in division. And then you bring up a playoff game where it was clearly a dirty hit. A lot of NFL experts say that was a dirty hit. So I don't get where Philly Voice is, coming with this reason. I think it's a very half truth without, like actual true context. So I'll give it like a half truth on that one, just because I do believe that Carson Wentz does need to win a playoff game and end the season on his 2 feet. So I just don't get where this hate for Carson Wentz coming from on this reason. And if Nick Foles was so good, then why is he on his 3rd team in 4 years? The fuck? Now, I somewhat agree with this one, just because you lose Brandon Brooks for the year. You lose your swing tackle and Halapuli Vaitai. And then you also don't have Jason Peters anymore. So it's like you're essentially stuck with Andre Dillard, Samalo, Kelsey, Matt Pryor, if you don't sign Joe Thuney, and then Lane Johnson. I don't see a problem with that. I've seen bright spots from Andre Dillard, and the only thing that was wrong with him last year was he was a rookie, and he still had that college body. Reports from even Lane Johnson is saying, and Brandon Brooks, like nothing but good reviews about Andre Dillard, saying that he's packed on pounds, he's been working out, getting his weight up, and I'm confident for him. And then I'm also confident in Matt Pryor, just because it's like I don't have a reason to not doubt. Well, to doubt Matt Pryor. Like, I don't see anything wrong with him. Now, he's not as athletic as Brandon Brooks, and in some key moments, that'll show up against D tackles who could take advantage of that. However, I don't see nothing wrong with our offensive line. However, I will agree with Philly Voice that it won't be as good just because you lose that talent in Brandon Brooks, Jason Peters, and Vaitai, who played, multiple positions on the line. So I give it more truth and lie on this one. However, again, I just believe you just leave out context when you say that. And what makes it like a little bit more assaulting is they did this little graphic. It's cute, I guess. Yeah, Malcolm Jenkins is gone. I mean, we weren't able to get that contract extension going. And yeah, you look at the production of Malcolm Jenkins like since 2014, like he's played a lot of snaps. However, like Philly Voice also has left out the context that although Malcolm Jenkins did play a lot of snaps, over 90% every season that he was in the league, um the secondary still wasn't good in 16, 17, 18, or 19. So with him on or off the field, the secondary was still abysmal at best. So either way, you're still looking good with Kayvon Wallace, Jalen Mills, whoever you put back there, because you can't win or lose, but like just because when Malcolm Jenkins was in the game, we still had the worst secondary in the league. Now this really isn't a lie, just because like for what we're paying Alshon Jeffrey, we haven't really got the production. Like it seems like after that drop touchdown pass, and even just the Super Bowl, but that drop touchdown pass in the New Orleans playoff game does mean something. After that, you really didn't see much out of Alshon Jeffrey. He was not healthy, responsible for drop balls, and um, and just being like more than a player, just in the Eagles locker room. And the Eagles obviously can't get out of his contract because if you do, you have to pay some money. So it like for me, I'm on the fence about this one. However, I'm kind of in agreement with Philly Voice. We do kind of have like an ass of a contract with Alshon Jeffrey, but I just still need to see more before I just make an official synopsis on that. Now, note the kind of language they're using, shaky. So all the while, like, all this is just speculation by them. But to me, I see this as a clear upgrade because if you have Deshaun Jackson, speed receiver, Jalen Rieger, speed, hands, size, Marquise Goodwin, speed, experience, very good route runner, and then you got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and Greg Ward, who are sleeper receivers to me on this team, who although may not keep defensive coordinators up at night, you still have to plan for them just because like you don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, second year players always come out sneakily good outside of quarterbacks. And I'm saying, like, how worse can it get? Carson Wentz threw for 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions without his starting three. So you're mean to tell me if Deshaun Jackson plays at least 11 games this season, Marquise Goodwin plays at least 11 games this season, and then you got Alshon Jeffrey coming back by week 4, week 5 off the list, Frank. And then you got still a young Jalen Rieger, who I think is going to be the best wide receiver in the draft. I already said it, and I'm not going to hold back on that position. I mean, again, I'm very confident in like our wide receiver core because, and then the young guys that you drafted like what's his name? Quez Watkins, that like and many other players that are way better than the talent that we had last year. So either way, Carson Wentz is still looking at a 30-plus touchdown season, whether you think our wide receiving core is shaky or not. Aaron Rodgers went to the NFC Championship game, with a just as worse, if not worser, wide receiving core. So I'm not into the whole hype of dissing our wide receiver core. Now I don't get none of that shit. Now you had Rasul Douglas guarding Stephon Diggs last year. Instead of Rasul Douglas, now we have Avonte Maddox. Instead of Sidney Jones guarding Adam Thielen, now we have Darius Slay. Instead of what the fuck his name is, third string corner guarding someone like Randall Cobb in the slot, now we have like Nicole Roby Coleman, who's like a guru guarding in the slot. And then we're moving positions to safety like Jalen Mills. We signed the likes of Will Parks, who's meant to boost up that safety position. So again, this is just all speculation, and I just totally disagree with our corners. Like, I think we're going to have a top 10 secondary in the league going into this next year. Now, to an extent, I can be on the side of agreeing with Philly Voice on this one, just because I still feel like we're a sign away from being solid at the linebacker position. Now, I do also believe that dude from Temple, Sean Bradley, and Davion Taylor are great additions to our linebacking core, along with Nathan Gary, who I know is going to improve this offseason uh, from last year being one of the worst tackling linebackers in the league. So if you want me to name the Eagles 23 star linebacker, like I can tell you, it's gonna be Sean Bradley, Nathan Gary, and it's gonna be Davion Taylor, like the speedster that we got from Colorado. So although it's still questionable with the linebacker position, it's definitely a lot better than we had last year. And honestly, this is just misleading because right now we're 24 under the cap. So although we can't spend more, this is, that 24 can roll over into next season, and then Howie still has time to work the cap and get it under wraps. You know what I'm saying? So this is just speculation if we don't make any moves from here, and like our cap just doesn't roll over. So I think this is very misleading, and I'm happy to just provide the context to you guys that like, yeah, we have potential to be 50 million over the cap, but that doesn't necessarily mean we are going to be that just because we have cap that can roll over into next season, and cap like and Howie is a master at that and is not done yet. Yeah, first place schedule, and then they go on to say these two teams are the Packers and the Saints, who both went 13-3 in 2019. Like, bitch, like we're not gonna play them like dudes twice. So even if we drop one to the Saints, which I don't think we are, and we drop one to the Packers, okay, 0-2 against Packers and the Saints, okay. So what you do have the Redskins win, Rams win, Bengals win, and then you got the 49ers L. Steelers, I feel like we can beat the Steelers. Ravens, that's a loss, maybe. The Giants win, Cowboys win. Bye week, Giants win, Browns win, Seahawks win. Like I said, Packers, Saints lost, Cardinals win, Cowboys win, Redskins win. So altogether, like that's still 4 losses. So I don't get where they were going with this. However, I am laughing at how they extended Washington Redskins to the Landover, Maryland team. That's pretty funny. And lastly, there has not been a repeat champion since 2004. Well, there's going to be a repeat champion this year because the Eagles, going into the 2020 season, we are better than the Giants. We're better than the Redskins. The Cowboys, I think, even if we do somehow scratch one, like go 1-1, I still think that we can be a repeat champion because they got to play us in Philly, and I don't see them beating us in Philly. I see it as a win in Philly. Now in Dallas or Arlington, my city, like the last game of the year, we could end up sitting our players out for that game, so it really wouldn't matter.